It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone for the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinals.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Smith, does he do it? He does! A walk-off homer by Ken Smith.
And Nick Dioli.
Gets it down. Here comes Babcock. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
Fastball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi
Smacked into right field. And
Welcome back, college baseball fans. We are joined by a different co-host. No Micah today, but we are joined by former Clemson Tiger and the ACC single-season record holder for hit by pitches. Dom Listi, thank you so much for filling in for Micah tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I was really disappointed. I don't know which press conference it was in Durham last year that you were one of the post-game guys. But I heard you start talking. I was like, man, I wish I'd known that Dom was this personable earlier in the season. Cause like you've got your stars, but like, I really love finding the guys that are comfortable on camera and talking. And you're definitely one of those guys.
I like to think that I am. I mean, I think a little bit has to do with my past, to be completely honest with you, where I kind of come from a little bit of nothing in the baseball space. So every little interaction I had last year, like getting the chance, like, oh, you want to go talk to the press today? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, please. Like I just thought it was all super cool the entire year. So I enjoyed all that stuff. And it's definitely hard to get me to shut up sometimes.
Absolutely. I know there's a couple Clemson guys that didn't necessarily like talking to the press. So I'm sure you got your opportunities there.
I love that your answers were all just so precise. It was really fun to talk to you like during the tournament. So it was awesome.
I appreciate that. I tried my best to give my best articulation skills and whatnot for everyone.
I loved it. I loved it.
Absolutely. One of the questions I want to talk to you about as we just got through our first midweek matchups of the season. Obviously, Miami is still going on right now. But, the question about whether midweeks matter and as apparently Georgia Tech just scored another run. That's a great comment. But do midweeks matter? And I think it's a complicated answer, but I want to get Dom's opinion on this as an ex-player because I think they do, but there's certain things that you can disregard that kind of makes that answer a little bit complicated. So Dom, what are your thoughts there on midweeks?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a long-winded answer, so I'll try to pull it together as best as I can. But to be honest, like the short answer is yes, they do matter. But if you kind of break it down and think about the baseball as a numbers game, which it obviously is, I think the first and most important part of it is like, what's your goal as a team? So like at Indiana State, our midweeks were very different than they were at Clemson, for example, because Indiana State, you had to play up a lot of the time. Yeah. As an ACC school, you're typically playing down for your midweeks most of the time, and that's just the reality of the situation. But since this is an ACC show, we'll frame it from an ACC headspace. And, like, when we're viewing the midweeks, to me, they obviously are super important. I think as a player, it's really easy to write it off, and as a fan, it's easy to kind of cope and say, well, it's just a midweek game. It's just a game, one game. We're just throwing a bullpen game, whatever it may be. But if you really want to play all the hypotheticals, like when it comes down to it at the end of the year, when you're in the ACC championship game, when you're in elimination parts of the tournament and whatnot, like you are going to kind of be playing midweeks in a sense where it might be a super early morning. There's nobody in the stands. You're having a complete bullpen game. So at that aspect, it definitely matters. And then also, if you break it down, like how many times do we get to the end of the year and you think about it like, oh, if this team won one more game, if this team won 2 more games, what would their RPI look like? Could have Georgia Tech have been a host last year if they maybe won one midweek game that they dropped or something like that? You really never know because the numbers really do matter to these committee people. And you don't really know. The sad thing about our game right now is you don't really know what numbers they're going to weigh a ton on. So when it boils down to it, you want to take as much as you can out of their hands. And to me, I think I like to think about the game from a coach's perspective a lot of the time. I don't think most players think about it the way I kind of did, and I think that's probably a good thing, to be completely honest. I think it's good to just go out there and play the game. But the way I would always think about it, like I was a nerd. Like I love brackets. Like I'm a bracket nerd. So that type of stuff for me played right into my avenue of thinking and whatnot. So that's my long-winded answer to yes, they most definitely matter.
And I love that because I think they do as well. But obviously, there are certain things like when you take a loss, don't overreact necessarily. Like, you got to think about some of the circumstances. Context matters, right? But let's get into some of the midweek madness we had yesterday around the ACC. I was on the call for Georgia Tech at Georgia Southern, so I missed the Miami game, which seems like it's the game of the year already. But let's talk about that Georgia Tech offense a little bit. 25-1. I know they were pretty upset to give up that last run. And I think they were also a little annoyed that there was not a run rule agreed to beforehand. Because they got off the field quickly, got on that bus. But that Georgia Tech lineup is legitimately 13 to 14 guys deep. Dom?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And first and foremost, I had a tweet about this the other day. I truly think there should be run rules all the time. The only argument you can make against them is, yes, some guys get to get into the game and whatnot, but like at what cost, to be completely honest? The reps are completely deteriorated. The mental focus isn't there. And at that point, like most programs are running things throughout the middle of the week where you're able to get at bats to begin with. So I think there always should be a run rule personally. Yeah. But in regard to Georgia Tech, it's just ridiculous. I mean, their offense was stupid last year to begin with, and they returned essentially everybody and then added on top of it, like when they added Jaron from California. That's just one of the best bats in the ACC. I mean, the bat the ball on that dude is second to none in the ACC. It's ridiculous. It's so fun to watch. I mean, it's one of those guys when I was in left field at Cal and I'm sitting there being like, I admire your game, man. Like there's just a few people like that. But there's literally, I'm looking at their stats right now. It just is, it's stupid. It looks like MLB The Show numbers right now. It's just an unbelievable offense, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare for anyone in the ACC to deal with them for a 3-game set.
Yeah, I was sitting down there in batting practice yesterday, and somebody was hitting it over the scoreboard, and I'm like, what the? I'm expecting it to be Zuckerman or Burris or Hernandez. I look up, it's Carson Curse. I'm like, what is going on? The good news for Georgia Tech is they do not face Tampa this year, so there's no chance they're facing BJ Bailey at any point. So the bad news is the Jacob McGovern is still at Clemson. So the crafty lefty, if they figure that out, they'll be complete. But they had some trouble with the crafty lefty last year. So Nick, what are your thoughts there on Georgia Tech before we start talking about the Miami game? That was so good.
I mean, like what Dom said, another transfer. I mean, Zuck was just on fire last night as well, hitting a grand slam, I believe. This Georgia Tech lineup, man, it's early, but they're reminding me of 2023 Wake Forest, where those guys just hit bombs after bombs and getting up to like 10, 15, now 20 runs a game, and they don't even sweat midweeks. That's kind of like my bold take right now with Georgia Tech. That's a pretty high compliment because that Wake Forest lineup was absolutely lethal in 2023. But I mean, there's no break. There's not a break in the lineup at all.
Yeah, I will say 5 home runs. That's it. That's all they've had so far. With scoring all those runs. 5.
It really doesn't feel like it.
Exactly. That's what's crazy. They are a doubles machine. But
13 doubles already. 13 doubles already. Or actually, wow. I think it's more. These stats are only through the first 3 games, so I'm sure they added way more to that yesterday. Well.
Yep, they had a bunch of doubles, and they had 26 hits. So only 2 of them were home runs. So Ryan, yeah, I saw Ryan Zuckerman leg out a triple as well. That was kind of wild. Big guy.
Honestly forgot he was part of their team for a second there. Blanked my mind. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yep. So we'll talk about Miami and man, what a game. I mean, they were getting no hit by former Florida State arm, which I thought was, we know those two teams don't like each other. And they weathered that storm and then tied the game a couple of times. Cuvée, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking about all the MLB fans who have not checked into college baseball. And it was, what was it? Yesterday was February 17th. You've got that Daniel Cuvée home run. And it's watching him like spike the bat and just celebrate the entire way around the base pass in the 10th inning when he tied that game. And I'm just like, man, there's MLB fans that are out there just like, I want to watch spring training games. And they're missing out because, I mean, that game was unbelievable. Dom, you want to start us off talking about that? 'Cause I know you were tweeting up a storm there.
Yeah, no, I think it's two different prototypes that you're going after there in regard to the person that wants to watch spring training, the college baseball fan. I mean, I have a unlimited amount of thoughts in regard to the way that college baseball is growing and the way it can continue to grow with people just like that love the game so much, trying to spread it and whatnot, and just kind of putting their neck on the line for it to some degree. Because everyone's going to disagree with your takes, whether you try to be a good guy or a bad guy. It doesn't matter. Right. I've learned that very quickly in the last couple of days. But
I've seen it. Yeah, I saw the Iowa tweet has gotten some traction.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you get a ton of people that agree with you, but like no one responds to those comments. They just they want to pick the smallest hole in your argument. They're like, dude, you said your D3 was a top 10 school. I'm like, all right, maybe I got ahead of myself a little bit. Like, that's not the point. That's not the point of this tweet, guys. But regardless, back to that game though, like UCF's a very good opponent. They're going to be a fun team to follow this year, man. And there's two Clemson transfers on that team, second baseman Austin Jacobs from last year, and then also Michael Gillen threw a couple very meaningful innings in relief there for them and looked very sharp. But yeah, I mean, that was just an unbelievable game. Miami seems to have they seem to have more grit to them than usual. I think from the naked eye watching in, like I wasn't very tapped into the ACC until last year because I was not a part of it. But from the outside, like the Miami cliche was kind of like these guys, they're super talented, but they kind of just go about it a little bit lackadaisically, almost the complete opposite of how I view Clemson personally, in the sense that we're just like we were a super gritty team last year. They seem to have a lot more grit to them with obviously the talent. So, I mean, it could be a very dangerous team this year. And I'm excited to see how they kind of build themselves out as this non-conference finishes up.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing how their pitching kind of handles things. The other UCF, I get to see them this weekend in Jacksonville. I'm really excited because I completely forgot about Gillen transferring there. I know I expected him to be a big part of the rotation last year before the injury, right before the season. And he's a stud. And of course they have a familiar name at shortstop in Jordan Lodis. So, and everyone knows I'm a Lodis guy. It doesn't matter which of the three it is. I'm a Lodi guy. But excited to see UCF because I think they're an up and coming program. But getting into some of it, obviously Clemson took care of business yesterday. Our guy JJ had another home run. I don't know how he didn't get drafted last year.
There we go.
There he is. Mike.
But I'll take over for him for a second until he gets that going again. But JJ, I was dumbfounded that he didn't get picked up as well, to be completely honest with you. And that offense right now has been pretty unbelievable for Clemson. I mean, last year we were missing Slug. That was no secret. That was something that people love to knock on us for. But you just look at the numbers right now, like JJ, Nate Savoy, transfer, unbelievable. Luke Gaffney is going to be a completely different player this year. I think he's going to tap back into his slug as a ball player. And then a name that a lot of people haven't really talked a lot about that I haven't seen in the bigger picture of the ACC is Tristan McClatty. I mean, talk about tools. That dude has an unlimited amount of tools. He can steal an unlimited amount of bags, and he can slug. I mean, the dude just slapped the ball over the left field wall like it was absolutely nothing, and not many people can do that.
I'm kind of interested in your take on the Clemson Tigers, Dom. What's the How far do you think they can go this year? Do you think this is the year they get to Omaha?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a tough question to answer because, like, obviously I have a bias. I'm going to say yes to that
Right.
question,
Yeah.
But if I try to put that aside, I do think, like I said, the slug is there right now, which is very different. I think last year we had to be a lot more gritty. Yes, I always think that there can be room for a player like myself. Every team can use an on-base guy that's just going to grind their way and do something like that in their lineup, whether it's a leadoff or a 9-hole. But at the same time, you need a lot more slug guys. And this year they have that. And then you take another step back at the second thing that people wanted to critique us on. And there was a lot of injuries last year for the Clemson staff. This year, there still is a couple injuries that we haven't even seen some big faces like Drew Titsworth to begin with, who is an unbelievable arm. Amazing. The invisible fastball. And then you got all these new guys coming in, plus guys that have revamped themselves. I mean, you have Aiden Canuck coming in. Like, Clemson fans, he didn't give up an earned run his first start. And Clemson fans were like, oh, man, like, not the best Aiden Canuck start. And that just shows you how spoiled you are with a pitcher like that. And then off of that, I mean, like, Clemson's rolled out 2 lefties now already that have touched 97. You have Brendan Bennett, who's now a sophomore, has stupid stuff. And then you have Justin Legurnick, I've been very vocal about this. He's the hardest pitcher I've faced in my entire life. He's what I would think the closest thing to facing Chris Sale is, basically. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like Legurnick, if he's able to harness his potential like he did this past weekend, he's an all ACC type pitcher, and it's already a deep pitching staff that just gets deeper if he's able to harness that on a consistent basis. But sorry for falling off there, guys. I'm using my phone as the camera. And I have it on Do Not Disturb, but my mother is the only one that can get through, and I guess she decided to call. So that just threw everything off.
That's a good man, though. Get the mom get through DNP.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I was like, I thought it was on Do Not Disturb, and I was like, oh, right, the one person I've got going through. But anyway, I will let Nick Forrest, before we get into that, I mean, the ACC has gone, I believe, undefeated through the midweeks here, which is really good. North Carolina, I believe, won both of theirs, and then obviously NC State won today. I knew as soon as I tweeted as soon as Anderson Nance came into, when they go to their highest leverage guy, it's just inevitable that the offense is gonna go ahead. But I want you to talk about Wake Forest before we get into previewing the weekend.
Yeah, so I went to opening day at the Couch. Nice time. Got to see the debut of Cam Bagwell. Everyone was hyping this kid up out of the transfer portal. One of the top pitching transfers in the portal. Yes.
It wasn't the debut. He pitched on the weekend.
His name was on the scoreboard.
I believe you, but he pitched on over the weekend.
Oh, I missed that. They were in Puerto Rico, so that's my
It doesn't count. It doesn't count.
First debut in the United States, or I guess in the mainland.
In the mainland, at the Couch. His debut at the Couch. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? I swear he was pitching.
He did pitch. He did pitch. Yes. I was one of the Twitter guys that just focused on one point. I wasn't focused on the point. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, he pitched pretty well. I mean, there were 2 costly errors in left field. Unfortunately, Jackson Miller went down as he was going for a ball to the fence with the bases loaded, I think, and hurt his shoulder, and a couple of runs scored. And then Andrew Costello came in to fill for him, and he lost the ball in the lights. So that all happened while Bagwell was pitching. So I'm not going to harp on him that it was a bad game, but he did pretty well. The bats got going late. High Point kind of, crept back in, but bases loaded. And then Christian Smith, who I will pay big compliments to for High Point, their center fielder, was their best player and kept them in it. Unfortunately, swung and missed and actually got hit by the ball, but it was dead ball, game over. But yeah, I mean, the bullpen was nice. Bagwell looked pretty good. The bats kind of came in clutch when they needed to.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I just want to see the defensive miscues kind of get cleaned up. I thought that was something that hurt them last year, in particular in that Clemson series with that when especially when Dom and the boys came back in that
Yeah.
series. I thought the defensive miscues we saw, Cade Lewis's error on opening day as well, kind of have things fall apart. So I'd like to see Wake Forest really clean up the defensive issues.
Yeah, I agree with you all there. What I wrote down for Wake was, I mean, they do an unbelievable job recruiting and developing pitching talent specifically, and it is just genuinely unbelievable. Like every type of analytical outlier you could have in the world of sabermetrics and these advanced analytics, whether it's a low vertical approach angle, a high spin guy, or these dudes throwing. I think I just saw someone threw an 89.8 mile per hour sweeper with the most horizontal break at a pitch of that speed. It's just genuinely perplexing how unbelievable they are at finding. Each guy they bring in has a crazy plus attribute. And it's almost like they do a very good job recruiting the stuff specifically and finding that. For me, based off of the miscues, like kind of on the pitcher side, last year, they struggled a lot with walks. They struggled a lot with walks and hit by pitches. The stuff was always there, but it's just the consistency of that. And yes, the defense comes along with that. And I mean, we'll get into it for the weekend preview, but for me, it was like I kind of had the same takeaway from watching day one versus with Morningstar on the bump. It's like the stuff is undeniable. It's one of the most the plus fastballs in the ACC with the metrics and whatnot that come with it. But it's just the consistency to come out there and like have the floor be just a little bit higher as a whole. And if they're able to do that, man, like I think that team can creep up to hosting a regional type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad we're getting some of the perspective. I believe it was Evan Jones on that sweeper, a freshman, because I think I heard something like only 3 pitches in like the last couple of years had that kind of like numbers on it. So just absurd. So let's get into it. We'll start off with Princeton at NC State. This will be the first home series in Raleigh this season. Princeton towards the bottom of the Ivy League. I believe it's a 3-game series. I don't know how much time we want to spend talking about this. I mean, I think NC State should comfortably sweep. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they go 2-1, but you expect them to kind of sweep with what they've got on the mound and how they've just kind of casually come out offensively and played really well. Dom, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think NC State's one of the more underlooked teams at the moment right now. I don't think anybody paid too much mind to them, and it was kind of similar to last year as well. And we got punched in the mouth when we went to their place. And dude, that staff is really good, and they just play the game the right way. They're just a well-ran organization, a well-ran team, and I expect them to just silently do their thing and kind of keep trucking along until eventually it's inevitable again this year.
Yeah, Dom, you just reminded me. I was planning to write kind of like a little story that kind of focused on you and that on base kind of hit by pitch grittiness going into that series. And, I'm not interviewing guys after a loss. And unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. But I was like, well, I guess I'm switching up my story, finding something an NC State angle. That's the lucky thing for me is being an ACC guy. I can just switch sides. But you just reminded me of that. I could have found out how personable you were way earlier. But Nick, what you with us? I mean, 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it with you, Monty, on Monday. I think I underestimated the bats this year for NC State. They have looked very, very good. And that was kind of stupid of me because if anything, you can always count on an Elliott Avent team to have really good bats. And they showed it again today. Brandon Fraseman had another home run against Wagner today before we hopped on. He's been awesome. Or no, not Wagner, Winthrop. Sorry, yep. Winthrop. It's W's. Yep. But yeah, I expect them to sweep. The pitching staff has looked really good. Consiglio closed out the game today. So like Dom said, under the radar, they'll just keep chugging.
Absolutely. Really excited about that. We got Pittsburgh in Texas facing Long Beach State, CSU Bakersfield, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. Pittsburgh, I'm still trying to figure them out. I think the lineup's legit. The pitching is still the question mark for me. They did okay against Western Michigan, but it's Western Michigan. I'm going to go 2-1 here. I think that's a pretty good weekend for them. Obviously 3-0, and I'm ecstatic if I'm Pitt. And again, they're a team that has to go on the road to start the year frequently. So they're a gritty team. I like watching them, but I just don't know if this is the year they're going to get over the hump and be a tournament team or even a bubble team. But they're going to be fun to watch offensively. But the pitching just a big concern for me. So I'm going to go 2-1. And I think that's a really good weekend for them. Dom?
Yeah, for me, I haven't got my eyes on Pitt too much, but just speaking about it from a high level, I think for me it's super, super important for them to get a sweep here. These are the types of games you have to take when you're going into the ACC as a team that's looked at as a bottom half team. And you have to take all your non-conference games. You cannot afford to drop any games where you're kind of perceived as the favorite, because if we're being frank, they're going to be perceived as the underdog in almost all series to some degree. So you got to take these games, man. They're very important at the end of the day if they want to be a bubble team and have a chance.
Yep, and it's interesting as we talk about them. We know that they're realistic there. They know how they're perceived. So, I don't think they'll be offended by us saying anything like that. So, Nick.
Yeah, I am gonna go 2-1 here with just a bunch of high scoring games. I'm expecting 12-10 against Long Beach, and then maybe 13-7 against Bakersfield, something along those lines. But we did see where the bats were awesome against Western Michigan. Kai Wagner was insane. I believe he was one of your ACC players of the week, or your all ACC team.
Funny enough, I was decided between him and Zuckerman, and I thought that was kind of ironic there.
It is, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to win these games. You're on the road. If you want a shot, it's good for RPI. Kind of get the wins where you can.
Absolutely. Hopefully they can show up and do some damage there. All right, UW Milwaukee at Duke. Duke still continuing to do their 4-game series to start non-conference. Again, I just love that Moose's thing in the preseason is our pitching depth is going to get tested, and I was like, it certainly is, because you scheduled double headers every weekend. They did really well opening weekend against Maine. They got UW Milwaukee now. I think I'm going to go 4-0 here. I'm feeling positive about them. I think they could have gone 4-0 last week. They just lost that one in extra innings, but they looked pretty good against that competition. So I'm gonna go 4-0 here.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get too much eyes on Duke, but again, this is another one of those situations where I think you got to try to take 4 here. UW Milwaukee they put up a fight against LSU, man. I mean, I was talking about that at some point. They proved me a little bit wrong, because I'm from the Midwest and people frowned upon the Milwaukee. Like you say, oh, I'm playing D1 baseball at Milwaukee. Some people kind of bat an eye at that to some degree, but that program's heading in the right direction, and they've really put up a fight against LSU, and they scheduled another tough opponent in Duke. So kudos to them for that. And then secondly, it's Duke, you got to come out there and you got to keep the intensity up, because this team's going to be hungry and they're going to come at you every single game. And if they go 2-2, they're going to leave the weekend feeling very, very happy, and you're going to leave the weekend feeling terrible about yourself.
Absolutely. And we love the Midwest connection here. But yeah, Milwaukee, the only D1 team in Wisconsin, because Madison does not have a D1 baseball program. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of dangerous that this Milwaukee team is coming off a very tough series against LSU. I mean, keeping up with those games, they're
going to be confident.
Yes.
Yeah, they gained confidence. They were in the thick of every single game. So for Duke, it's hey, keep that intensity up. Moose has got to rally the boys. They had a big win against App State last night, which, I mean, that's great. You can carry the momentum into the weekend. But I feel pretty confident Duke can get the 4 games here. I think they showed a lot in their pitching staff and their depth a little bit. Their bats were pretty consistent. I would love to see them go 4-0 here. I think they can do it.
Absolutely. Getting into another easy one here. Stony Brook at Georgia Tech. This is another 4-game series. I forgot to note that in the banner. Georgia Tech's going to go 4-0. They're going to score at least 40 runs.
Where we send the over-under at on runs this weekend, boys?
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that out of respect for Stony Brook. I mean, I've already kind of disrespected by saying that they'll score 10 runs a game, but Georgia Tech, I mean, sometimes it can be a little hard to come out of the gate and be just clicking offensively. And I mean, Drew Burris before last night hadn't even got going. He had 3 hits going into last night, doubled that. And if he's getting started alongside this lineup, it could get really nasty. But yeah, I just think Georgia Tech should have no problem here. They've kind of set up the schedule nicely to really get rolling heading into that Virginia Tech series in conference play at home, and then the Clemson Tigers after that. And we know that series will be cinema no matter what the two teams are doing going into that series. But Dom, what are your thoughts here?
First of all, I am going to that series, so I'm very excited for that.
Oh, nice.
Me too.
Okay, sweet. Good. I'll meet you in person then. That's awesome.
There we go. And hopefully Brian does not put me in front of a wall like what happened at regionals, because I would have loved to have watched you, Dom, at regionals, but they put me outside the press box facing the wall and then the press box here. And if I look to the left, which is where you guys were, the field, there were a bunch of reporters there. So I ended up watching a lot of squeeze play when you guys were actually next to me on the field. Yeah.
You should have some more space in the regular season, I'd hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll probably be on the radio call with Georgia Tech, so I'll probably be able to be in the radio box. So awesome. That'll be good. But it'll be a fun one. I can't wait. Last year's was cinema. I mean, Friday, I mean, we're getting off on a tangent, but Friday night was, I mean, we got Patel versus Malstead in the 2 best relievers in the conference going. And then the next day, obviously we had we got to see a glimpse of what Georgia Tech's offense could be. And then BJ Bailey masterclass, and then Drew Burris tying it. And then it's just wonderful. It was fantastic series, a lot of fun. And there's a rivalry there.
Oh yeah. There's definitely no love lost there, but I mean, there's not much to say about this series. To me, it's 2 very vague narratives. Can the offense keep it going, and can we learn more about Georgia Tech's pitching staff? That's really it.
Yep, absolutely nailed it. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more Georgia Tech pitchers kind of go the distance, kind of test them out a little bit, because I feel like they can in this series. I think there's no risk in doing that a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I think the bats are just going to continue to roll. So I got Georgia Tech 4-0.
One thing I did mention
is this a 3-0 one, right? 4. Okay, yeah, 4-0.
I did mention, I was talking to Matt Taylor, the pitching coach, yesterday. I said, does this offense kind of mess with the routine a little bit, because there's so much time between innings sometimes. I mean, they batted around 4 times in 7 innings in one of the games the other day, and it was Mason Patel pitching, so I don't think it affected him too much, but I mean, that's got to be kind of brutal sometimes on the pitching as well. But,
yeah.
All right, speaking of trying to figure out some more answers here, we got Virginia headed down to Florida. They're going to be at Stetson, facing Monmouth, Stetson, and North Dakota State. Virginia's offense, it's very similar to what Duke had, obviously, because they brought a lot of Duke guys over, but they're going to grind out at bats. It's a war of attrition. They're going to get on base, and they're going to do some damage. But the pitching, is Kyle Johnson going to be back? I haven't heard anything about that. I probably need to ask some questions there. Is Henry Zatkowski going to pitch better than he did on opening day? Michael Yeager. But I want to see more from Virginia's pitching, but I think they should be able to handle this. Stetson's not quite as good as they were last year. North Dakota State, same thing. They're both quality programs, just kind of still transitioning into this into the next year after successful 2025s. But I'm going to go Virginia 3-0 here.
I got Virginia 3-0 as well. Just going to take a step back here and just kind of learn more about the team and kind of see if they can keep it rolling, to be honest with you. Been fun to watch early on.
Absolutely. It's a little bit more offense than I expected, especially with Weatherspoon, their starting catcher, out for the first weekend, and Tiroli was battling injuries where he had to DH until Tuesday. And then obviously Kyle Johnson, the big injury news, who, I spent most of the preseason saying how important he was to this team, and then immediately out of the gate, not on the mound. But Nick, what are your thoughts here?
I'm going to go 3-0, but that Stetson game kind of sticks out to me a little bit. Stetson, they make the tournament year in and year out. I know they just had a rough game today against Florida. I think they're still playing right now. The last I saw, it was looking a little rough for them, but not a team to take lightly at all, especially with, like you said, Monty, the pitching out the gate has been subpar at best. So that's kind of the game where I'm really looking at Virginia's pitching staff and see if the bats can keep up with them, because we know Stetson can hit. They've always been able to hit, but I will play it safe and go 3-0 here. I think Virginia can figure some things out.
Yep, another interesting one. We got Boston College games, 2 games against Northwestern, 2 games against Cornell. I think this is at a neutral site, if I recall. If Boston College is hoping to be in that conversation, they've got to go 4-0. I know Dom's talked about it with some of the others. Obviously, I thought they played pretty well in Puerto Rico. I think the pitching staff's really good. Northwestern kind of scares me a little bit because I think they've improved a lot from last year. Normally, they're the number 17 team in the Big Ten. They might have gotten up there closer to number 12, 13, which makes it a little bit more dangerous for Boston College. But if Boston College just did what they did to Washington, you expect them to be able to handle Northwestern. Cornell, another one of those guys at the bottom of the Ivy League. Their best hitter is at Notre Dame. So I think they should be able to handle Cornell pretty nicely. I'm going to go 4-0 here for Boston College with the pitching staff continuing to look pretty solid.
Yeah, I haven't really got too much eyes on Boston College, to be honest, this year. I tapped in for a couple innings when I figured out that whole Victory app thing to watch the games in Puerto Rico. I mean, that's the one thing I hate about the early season non-conference stuff is you got to deal with the flow baseball and all these other just paywalls and whatnot. I mean, come on, man. But hopefully one day we can get to the point that this beautiful game's broadcasted a little bit more nationally like college basketball. Yeah. Beside the point, it'd be nice to see just the ACC heart in me. I want to see the ACC teams get going and keep winning these games. But to be honest, I think they're going to drop a game here. I'm going to go 3-1.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. It's just a tough, it's tough to go 4-0 on a weekend. So I'm always surprised when they double up some of these games. It's hard enough to go 3-0, and then you add a fourth one. That's always tough. But Nick,
it really tests your depth and mental fortitude as a team. Like you're going to hit a lull most likely offensively unless you're like Georgia Tech, which they're not. Right. And you're going to be challenged. Like you're going to have to put some arms out there that probably, I'm looking at their pitching staff right now. They only have one guy that's thrown 5 innings, and then the next is all 2-inning guys. So someone's going to have to stretch themselves out a little bit this weekend. So that'll test their staff a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Colaruso's not – I mean, you expect him to pitch a little bit more than he did. So, yeah, there's always questions how much they're stretched out too. And but, Nick, what are your thoughts? You with me or with Dom?
I think I'm going to go with Dom here. I do have BC, getting into the tournament. They're, my dark horse.
That was your hot take.
Hot take, BC getting back in to the NCAA tournament this year. But I think the key here – I think BC obviously has the best lineup between the two schools, and playing them twice, Nick Wang and company, they showed something in Puerto Rico, and I think I think the talent is gonna show up in the lineup. Oh, Kane's Cats Heat is in the chat.
He said you brought in a former Clemson player so that I don't talk bad about Clemson. I see what you're doing. So
you got a Clemson hater in here right now?
Yeah.
Hey, bring it on, man. Talk bad. Let's do it. Let's do it.
He's a Miami guy. He should be. I think that game's still going, so he should be watching that.
He's at the game. He said, "Good evening from the light, gentlemen."
Oh, he's at the game. Even better. Yeah. I love that.
What's this? Is Miami up right now in Indiana State?
I think they went up at one point. Alonzo Alvarez, that freshman catcher, hit a go-ahead home run. It was 3-2, but yeah, I was sad.
I was sad we didn't get to play Miami this past year at Clemson. I really wanted to get down there. It's an iconic place to play at.
That's the downside of how big the conference is you got so many. I mean, I'm still mad about the lack of a Florida State Georgia Tech matchup with the two Lodices facing each other.
I didn't think about that,
yeah. I was hoping to make that happen in the ACC tournament, but Clemson and North Carolina had other ideas.
Yeah, we did.
So Siena at Wake Forest. Wake Forest pitching, I think, is going to continue to roll. I think Blake Morningstar is going to have a good game, and the other two, it's 3-0 Wake Forest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a massive talent gap here. If Wake Forest doesn't sweep them and run Rule 2 games, I'd honestly be pretty surprised. I think it could be a good way to get their offense kickstarted a little bit because the stats aren't very pretty right now, and they're going to get their swings off against Siena.
Absolutely. Nick?
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to go to one or two of these this weekend. 4 o'clock is always a tough time in the beginning of the season until daylight savings happens, and then it's like 7 o'clock games. But I feel like it's a 3-0 sweep. What I really want to see is, Monty, the Blake Morningstar comeback. I would love to see him bounce back from the rough start against Houston. And honestly, the fielding errors. I mean, that's got to be cleaned up a little bit too. I forgot to mention that yesterday they moved Cade to first base and they put Dalton Wentz at third. Didn't really notice.
That's where Cade was over the weekend as well.
Was he not at third against
when
Houston?
Against Houston? He was at first.
Oh, I thought he was at third.
He came in to make that play and then turned around and overthrew it.
Gotcha. Well, I hope to see the fielding kind of, get cleaned up a little bit, but I'll go 3-0 Wake. It should be a weekend for them.
We're on the Wake topic. To cut you off really quick, I see the Cello Nutrition, Adam Ceciri. I see.
Yeah. These are I love those guys. Those are my boys. Yeah. Get
good
your
dudes.
Cello
Nutrition. I've connected with them virtually and whatnot, but I haven't met them in person yet.
They're great dudes. They did they've been working on this company for like over a year now, and their bar my family owns a deli in Winston, Dom, and we're selling their bars like at our place. But yeah, Adam and Lucas are two awesome, really good dudes.
Yeah, I was talking to Adam like a month ago on the phone for about an hour. He's a great dude.
Oh, Adam's the best. He is the best.
The amount of information Nick just gets from Wake Forest guys coming in and ordering sandwiches is unreal.
Hey man, you gotta have your angles.
Yeah, it's a great angle, man. I'll tell you, it's a leverage, man.
So, all right, moving on. We got to talk Clemson because we got Dom Listi here. He's obviously kept plenty of eyes on them because I've seen the tweets. They are 4-0. Somebody mentioned to me their offense was struggling, and I'm pretty sure only the first Army game is where you could argue that. It's looking pretty good, especially without Colin Priest in the lineup. The power numbers, I think you got to talk about it a little bit when I got jumped off a little bit, but the whole new outfield looks really good. They've added power. Obviously that was something that was kind of missing last year. I think there was more expected. I know Cam was battling coming back from that shoulder surgery over the off season and all that. So, dealing with that, it's going to be really interesting to see how Clemson continues the offense. Bryant's a really good team for the program size. They're probably going to be an NCAA tournament team, but Clemson is and might be an Omaha caliber team. They certainly appear to be so far out of the gate. So I'm going to go 3-0 Clemson, no problem.
Yeah, I got Clemson 3-0, of course. I would say that even if it was no matter who you said. But,
you have to, otherwise it's betrayal.
Exactly, you know it. I mean, I'm learning that. But I definitely think for me, there's just a few things. Like I want to see AK be AK this weekend, which I truly believe he will. And I want to see the offense continue bopping. And personally, I also would like to see Ty Daly get into it and have like a 2 home run weekend as well.
Yes, the heir apparent for vibes taking over for Dom Listi is Ty Daly, but we expect to see some home runs soon. The Savannah Bananas game when he got to do the bat on fire and hit a home run was
electric, that was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet.
But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Michael Sharman, I'm excited to see some more of. He was my vote for pitcher of the week for my official vote. They didn't necessarily go wrong with Wyatt Danilowicz at Louisville, but if you're perfect through 5 2/3 to start, that kind of that was my reasoning behind it. But Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this should be an easy 3-0. It is a talent gap, right? And this was 2 years ago, but I was able to catch Bryant at the Raleigh Regional in 2024, and they had some pop, they had some pretty decent pitching, but again, that's 2 years ago. They do kind of run that conference a little bit. But yeah, the pitching and the hitting, I think, is just going to be too much.
Absolutely. I'm excited because, I was kind of, again, I try to take that wall situation out of it, but, I'm getting more excited about Clemson than I have been in a while. Lafayette at Miami again. Miami 3-0. I'm not really going to talk much about Miami at this point. We spent a lot of time on them with the midweek madness. I think they'll be fine 3-0.
Second that. Not much to say here. Talent gap again.
Yeah, 3-0 Miami.
All right, let's head out west. We got Cal State Fullerton at Stanford. Stanford is a team that I refuse to buy in on until at least the midway point of the year because they bamboozled me last year, and I refuse to allow it again. I had them in my Omaha 8. I was looking great after they took care of business against North Carolina, and then after that, they fell apart. So they went 2-2. They impressed on the weekend in a very difficult slate. But they got Cal State Fullerton coming to town. Cal State Fullerton, not the Cal State Fullerton of old. But I'm going to go, I think it's a 4-game series. I'm going to go 3-1 here, which, I just said I'm not going to buy it on Stanford, but 3-1 I think is a pretty good slate if it's a 4-game series.
Yeah, for me, if it's 4 games, whether it's 4 or 3, I'm going to take Stanford dropping 1 game. I mean, just based off of the vibes from last year alone, they're just not a sweep team, man. They're just a little bit inconsistent and spotty. But the talent has always been there. It's one of those same situations. So, they were one of those teams where after we played them last year, I kept a close eye on them because the baseball nerd in me fell in love with a lot of players on that team because they're just very talented and very fun. But then again, it was one of those things where I remember we had 1 game for them. I want to say it was the Sunday game we dropped or something, and they just absolutely mashed. And it's you don't know what Stanford you're going to get. That's the only problem I have.
Yep, and that's why I'm refusing to buy in until they prove it consistently. But the pitching needs to be, the pitching looks like it's a little bit improved, but we'll see. Because again, we don't know. We think those teams that they played were pretty good, but Arizona's already 0-4, so maybe they're not as good as we thought. So we'll see. But Nick, what are your thoughts here on Stanford? You correctly predicted 2-2 when Mike and I weren't as high on Stanford going to the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Monty, you can hop on the train anytime, my man. You can hop on the Stanford train anytime. Hey, I'll wait for you. I will wait for you halfway through.
That's fine. I will wait.
Okay, we'll catch you on the next stop.
I am bitter about them making me look really good for a second and then terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you at all. I think we all fell for the trap after they beat Carolina like that. But no, I'll go. I mean, what Dom said. I think they'll drop 1 regardless if they're playing 3 or 4 games this weekend. The bats, I think, have kind of come along in clutch situations. I think Rintaro Sasaki kind of getting the monkey off his back a little bit, breaking out a little bit in this opening weekend series was huge for him. I hope he continues to roll. So I'll go 2-1 or 3-1, whatever it is.
Absolutely. All right. It is 4 games for Stanford. It's 3 for Cal at UC Irvine. I am kind of nervous about this one, guys. I thought Cal was going to be a lot better than they were. They kind of got dog walked by Santa Clara in 2 of those games, and they were only 1-run wins in the other 2. So I think I'm going 1-2 here. I think UC Irvine on the road is just a brutal second weekend after you didn't have the most successful first weekend, and I think I'm going to have to go with UC Irvine winning this series 2-1.
Yeah, I'm gonna second you with Cal dropping this. I wasn't very impressed. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Santa Clara is not a great opponent out on the West Coast, and I just don't really see them taking the series altogether here.
Yeah, if it had been UC Irvine that they played and went 2-2 against, I'd feel those results. I'd feel a lot better than Santa Clara. But yeah, there's a difference between those 2 programs for sure. So, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, they had to win. They had to beat Santa Clara, and one of those wins was a walk-off win for Cal. So, I mean, that great, you got the win, but I think if Cal's going to win this series, the starting pitching needs to kind of get going. I think those guys are too good to be sputtering with Santa Clara. So I do hope they bounce back, like De La Torre and and Edie as well. But I think they will go 1-2 if the starting pitching doesn't, figure itself out a little bit.
All right, now we're getting into the fun ones here. We got a series, an underrated series that nobody's really talking about. Rutgers at Virginia Tech. I think Rutgers is much improved. Obviously, some people here are very high on Virginia Tech and the pitching staff. So I'm excited about this one. I'm going to go Virginia Tech 2-1. I think Rutgers is going to get a win in here, but it's going to be a fun series to kind of keep an eye on. Two unranked teams going on it, but two Power 4 schools that are looking to find their way back into the NCAA tournament. So I'm going to go 2-1 here with Virginia Tech winning the series.
Yeah, I'm not huge, honestly, on Big Ten baseball for the most part, being from the Midwest. And I know that's not where Rutgers is, but the Big Ten is known as the Midwest area.
Absolutely.
And I just think that Virginia Tech is kind of me going with a pedigree pick here. I just think they're better more consistently. So I got them in the series 2-1 here. I think there's definitely still you'll walk away from this weekend knowing more about both teams, which is a beautiful thing about the series.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what we learn. And if I want to see this pitching staff continue to kind of show what they're capable of, because I think it's very strange putting in, when I wrote the Diamond Report, the preseason magazine, I put as a strength, and this felt so weird, that pitching was a strength for Virginia Tech. And that, I want them to see if we can prove that. But Nick.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'll go 3-0. I think, they quietly went 3-0 as a kind of bottom half ACC team last weekend. And I think the staff has looked pretty okay so far. I mean, Renfroe, we all know what he can do. If they go 3-0, I think a lot of people will turn their heads on them or turn their heads to them and just feel like, wow, this team can make some noise and maybe get back into the NCAA tournament. So it's a big time series. I think 3-0 will say a lot about this Virginia Tech team very early in the season. But again, if they go 2-1, I'm not like shaking my head at all, but I'll be bold and go 3-0 here.
All right. And apologies to Dom, who I said this would take 45 minutes, but we're a little bit over.
We're all good.
Well, let's head down to Arlington. We got Louisville and Florida State in Arlington this weekend. That's why I think that Michigan State series for Louisville was so important, because Xavier's not an easy midweek, and they took care of that. So they're 2-2, but now they've got to go to Nebraska, or they got to face Nebraska, Michigan, Auburn. I think Louisville's going to bounce back. I'm gonna go 2-1 here. I think they're going to beat Nebraska and Michigan. I know Michigan's looked really good so far, and I think they dropped the third game to Auburn.
I'm going to have to be the contrarian here and go 1-2. I watched a lot of that Michigan State weekend, and I just was super uninspired. And I was really high on Louisville just because I love Dan McDonnell. One of my good buddies from my hometown, his younger brother is Brandon Shannon, freshman for Louisville. Yep. Kid's going to be a stud. Turned down draft money to go there. Very good stuff. Got in game 3 there against Michigan State. Wouldn't be surprised if he turns to be a high leverage arm by ACC play for them. Good guy to keep an eye on. But the offense, man, I know they're missing Zion Rose right now, but last year was just so beautiful. It was a work of art the way they played the game, their offense. And going into the NCAA tournament, I said to my buddies, I'm like, they're a dangerous team, like the most dangerous 2 seed in the tournament, in my opinion. And I think I was just like, maybe that was my Midwest bias toward Louisville being the team you grew up loving or something. But, man, I really love them. And I still think they're going to turn it around this year. I just don't think this weekend's a great spot. There was a chance that, these are 3 games you could very easily drop if you play to the same level you did the past weekend. These are very good opponents. Michigan's very hot. Auburn's a 3-1 team, but they're a pissed-off 3-1 team right now. And, honestly, Auburn has more talent top to bottom than Louisville as well. So I think that it's a 1-2 weekend for them for me.
Absolutely. And you got to wonder, maybe last year's Louisville team, what they don't have this year is a former Indiana State teammate.
Yeah, that's maybe Brendan Cutts leaving might have been the end of the road for them.
Nick?
They have to go 2-1 here. They have to. And I mean, Stanford played two of these teams last weekend, Michigan and Nebraska, and Stanford beat Nebraska. If they go 1-2, shoot, man. I mean, are we saying that Stanford might be better than Louisville? I don't know. Like, how far has Louisville dropped from last year? I really hope they don't. But I will go 2-1 just because, like, they have to have these games. They starting off this bad when you were number 8 to start off would not be good. It would be a far climb back up to the top as we get into conference play.
Yeah, and I don't want to see that fan base if they go 1-2 this weekend, because they are a passionate group, and they will let people hear about it.
I'm curious to hear what you guys think about them, though. In the meantime, because I thought number 8 was a little bit more indicative of last year's success rather than the roster they were bringing into this year. To be honest, I thought they were a little bit more of that like 15 to 18 range personally.
Yeah, the pitching, trying to make sure they have somebody who is going to replace Forbes and Bivin, because we know how.
Yeah.
Right, and Tucker Bivin, what he was able to do is just a bulldog on the mound. Because I mean, I remember in particular on the in Omaha when he just came out on short rest. He's that kind of guy. Not everyone is. And we saw the pitching was an issue, and then the offense didn't get started against Michigan State until the last game. So, I think you probably nailed it. 8 was probably a little too high. I think I had. I think my picks for top 25, I had Georgia Tech, UNC, and Florida State ahead of Louisville. I think I might have even had Virginia up there, just because. But you got to wonder if my, what I was hearing from Virginia kind of pushed it a little bias there. But yeah, no, I'm with you there, Nick. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, when you kind of break down their postseason a little bit, I mean, I think, hot take here, the most impressive thing they did was just sweeping through Nashville in the regionals, because you can say, oh, they kind of got a little lucky getting Miami coming out of Tuscaloosa, and they also played Southern Miss. Or no, that was in Hattiesburg, right?
Yep.
Hattiesburg, but Alabama was in that one. Yeah.
Yep.
So you might say Louisville kind of got maybe a little gift there. Now, it was a great series. Monty, Micah, you guys were both there. But, I mean, they did okay in Omaha, too. I think it is maybe a little recency bias. I think when they swept through Nashville, everyone just had their sights on Louisville. Like, what's going on with this team? They're so hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the star power probably played a factor. Zion Rose, Lucas Moore, and Tage Davis. Saying those.
Eddie King too was super clutch as well.
Well, I was talking about this year in the preseason. Those 3 games.
Yeah.
All right, Florida State actually leaving the state of Florida before they have to. They head to Arlington. They're going to face the same 3 opponents, and I think we're going to have some different results. I'm excited to see Trey Beard. Hopefully he is fit and ready to roll. This one, I want to go 3-0 really badly, but it's just I'm gonna go 3-0. Just be an ACC homer and just go 3-0. I think they take care of business. If they drop a game, I would not be surprised if the game they drop is not the Auburn game. I especially if they're set up for Beard versus Auburn, it could be the Nebraska game. That wouldn't surprise me. But I'm gonna be really positive and optimistic and go 3-0 Florida State here.
Yeah, I think I'm just huge on Florida State after playing there last year. And yes, it's really hard to replace the pitching staff they lost last year, and specifically the starting pitching. That's the biggest question mark for me. But it's just a well-oiled machine there, in my opinion. And I'm going to go 3-0 as well. But I truly think Auburn's going to be a pissed-off team this weekend. And I think we could see a different version of them, which I think Auburn could sweep through this weekend in Arlington.
And these games are all Flow Sports ones too, so I will not be watching,
Awesome.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Awesome. Great.
So unfortunately, I will be relying on people tweeting and putting out highlight videos.
Yeah, and that means our boy Wheels on YouTube isn't going to have it either. So that's awesome.
Yep. So because
man, they're terrorists of college baseball. They're the worst.
Yep. The last couple of years, I've signed up for Flow and canceled it, and then they didn't cancel it, and it's.
I've heard that from numerous people. Even when I was at my D3, like all the girlfriends would have to buy Flow Sports to watch us in Florida, and they'd be like, "We cancel," and they're not canceling. They charge us for like 2 more months, and they're just screw them, man. I don't like that.
So I refuse to sign up, even though these are going to be fantastic matchups. So it's unfortunate. I mean, it's part of on ESPN also for not doing enough for the college game and allowing Flow to get that contract. Nick, what are you doing with this?
Well, I'm very high on Florida State. I do have them as one of my teams going to Omaha, and I think if they go 3-0 here, I mean, I think everyone's minds will be kind of set on that going to conference play in a week or two. But I think they can do it. I think the bats were Florida State and kind of NC State a little bit just kind of went under the radar last weekend because only playing 2 games. Yeah. Right. And I think when Florida State comes out this weekend, people are going to know that Florida State came out this weekend. So I'll go 3-0 here. I think this is going to be a big time out of conference type of series for them.
It's crazy for me that Florida State didn't have more hype around them going into the season, because for me, if they made it out of that super regional, which I really thought they were going to, I will stand by this take. I think they're in the national championship versus LSU instead of Coastal Carolina. I truly believe that, because they would have came from that side of the bracket. I'm almost certain they would have came from that side of the bracket. And that side of the bracket was 100% weaker than the other side. And that's not taking anything away. Yeah. It's like just the comparing the 4 and 4 versus each other. Yeah. Like that side, Florida State 100% would have been the best team. And I think their pitching was just too good. On top of that lineup, but specifically the pitching.
Absolutely, and I think they're going to benefit a little bit. I think from being overlooked in that regard, because I think they're going to get to play a little bit under the radar until you can't ignore them. But Dom, real quick before we move on, you got to play in the opening weekend version of this event last year. What was that like, getting to play in Globe Life in that environment?
That was unbelievable. I mean, you got to also think about it like it was another step up for me from D3 to Indiana State, from Indiana State to Clemson. So just being like, okay, I'm starting for Clemson today. This is crazy. Now I'm starting for Clemson in Globe Life. And now I'm playing Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, and Arizona that weekend. So it was just an unbelievable weekend. It didn't feel real, to be completely honest with you. Like it was one of those things where it was still settling in that, okay, I'm actually this type of a baseball player now, because I always kind of viewed myself as that like chip on my shoulder, Division III kid that everyone overlooked and whatnot. So it was a big pinch me moment, and I had my whole family there and everything, and I had an exceptional weekend as well. So it was amazing, to be completely honest with you. It was unbelievable. That
Arizona game I got to watch again because I paid for Flow Sports last year, and I'm not doing it again this year. But how you guys jumped on Kramkowski, just unbelievable. And Kramkowski's a great pitcher.
Yeah.
So, all right. The tournament I'm going to be at, Notre Dame. We're going to find out a lot about the Irish this weekend. Central Florida, LSU, and Indiana, the defending national champions. We talked a little bit about UCF earlier. Indiana, they have a good lineup. I don't think they quite have the pitching, but we'll see. Notre Dame is a team I think is a tournament caliber team. But we're going to find out if they're as good as I think they are this weekend. They're going to get tested. They did okay against Florida Atlantic. Obviously, that Friday night didn't go the way they wanted to offensively. But Saturday and Sunday, they looked like the team I expected them to be. But I'm going to go 2-1 here. As if it's set up the same way as opening weekend, Caden Crowell, the freshman, is going to be facing that LSU lineup. And I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. But yes, I'm excited to see the Irish there, but I think they can take care of Indiana. It's going to be interesting to see how Jack Radell against UCF. I really like that matchup. So I'm going to go 2-1 Notre Dame this weekend. And I think we're going to find out that they might be legit.
Yeah, and they were a very young team last year. We got really hot at the right time, and they were one of those teams, again, that I, just as a player, kind of fell in love following as well. But they kind of have not as much as Stanford, but they have a little bit of that same thing in them where you don't really know what version you're going to get. So for me, when I look at these three teams on the board they're playing, all three are more consistent baseball teams to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go 1-2 here, but I could very easily see Notre Dame pulling out a 2-1. I don't think they're going 3-0 this weekend. I just think it's too tough of a schedule. But I'm going to go 1-2 here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if nobody goes 3-0, but if one team goes 3-0, it's going to be LSU. I don't see anybody else going 3-0 in the tournament, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 2-1s and 2 1-2s or 3 2-1s and a 0-3. But it's going to be a lot of fun to see. That one's going to be on D1 baseball streaming, which luckily you pay it one time and they don't keep doing it. So it's just a one-time thing. I won't have to pay because I'll be there. But Nick,
I will go 2-1 here. I love the pitching matchup with Jack Radell. I think you kind of have to get that first win under your belt because I feel like these guys feel like they can beat Indiana. And we got a little bit of glimpse of Indiana after they just played North Carolina over the weekend. And look, North Carolina looked human almost. They almost dropped that game, but unfortunately, Indiana looked really human too. Mistakes happen. I think Notre Dame can play some clean ball and kind of get the win where we're supposed to kind of get the wins where you're supposed to. They can go 2-1 here. So I'll go 2-1.
Yeah, I will say about that Indiana series, because I attended all three games, that lineup's legit. The problem is that Carolina's pitching staff is just so casually dominant.
That's a great line right there. They are casually dominant. That's a great line for them.
Yeah, because I didn't think DeCaro, Folger, Boaz, or Lynch were particularly sharp with their command, and yet they all just cruised to 5 innings. I think they gave up maybe 2 runs total between the 15 innings pitched. But yeah, it's unbelievable. And now they've got freshmen. They've got a freshman who's already made 3 appearances out of the bullpen. It's going to be a high leverage arm. So Indiana, I wanted to be down on Indiana after seeing that series, but I thought they did pretty well considering how good that Carolina pitching staff is. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. Last series of the weekend, we've got our annual East Carolina, North Carolina series, Chapel Hill, Greensville, and then the DBAP in Durham. North Carolina in good shape. I don't know how East Carolina is today. They were 1-3 heading into today. They have not had a good start, and then they get to face those 3 arms. I think it's Carolina once again for the second straight season, sweeping East Carolina 3-0. I don't think East Carolina is prepared to face those arms.
I'm going to go 2-1 just because I think North Carolina, the baseball gods are going to give them a loss after what happened versus
That's
Indiana.
true. Ball don't lie.
And on top of that, I also think that in rivalry matchups, when they're somewhat evenly matched, it's just, there's just a different factor to that. Because I could even speak from last year, Clemson, South Carolina. We were clearly a better team in South Carolina, but we still played 3 very close games. And I just think that I see East Carolina pulling one out here because there's a lot of hype around this team. And I think, they do a great job. Our coaching staff at Clemson's really close to the East Carolina coaching staff because they all play together at East Carolina.
Yep.
And if they're anything alike, and I've heard nothing but very great things, he's going to have them ready to play. And I see him at least taking one game. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they won the series, but I'm going to go North Carolina 2-1 here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think last year's sweep was the first ever sweep of 3-game sweep of North Carolina over East Carolina. So they typically play really even series. And like you said, the coaching staff at Clemson, I think Bakich is the one that started that left field leap back in the day, which is always fun to me. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was reading a book about East Carolina. I got an advanced copy about it, and it was mentioned in there. I was like, and at the time, I hadn't even realized Bakich was a former East Carolina player. So I was thrown off by the mention of his name first, and then that. And then I was like, oh, Eric Bakich kind of actually makes sense knowing
They all played,
the
for,
person.
they all played for Keith LeClaire there.
Yeah. Yep. So, Nick?
I will go 3-0 Carolina. I just think ECU has just kind of been bitten by some kind of bug. It feels like something feels off about the program a little bit out the gate. They did win today against Northern Illinois, 11-5. They kind of had to come back a little bit in that because I think they were down 5-1 or 4-1 or something. But I just think the Carolina is kind of playing with their hair on fire a little bit, and ECU is just kind of like trying to figure it out. And I just think it's a bad timing right now. If you had asked me about this series like further down the road, like say they played in, mid-March or late March and ECU kind of figured it out a little bit, I would go probably 2-1 North Carolina or maybe reverse. But right now, I think ECU is still trying to figure things out.
All right. We finally got through all the games. We are almost 30 minutes over what I promised Dom. But he's gonna.
A lot of that reason is probably because of me yapping. So we're all.
It's all good. Well, we normally don't do a ton on the midweek madness, and that's about 25 minutes right there. So, so we had a good time there. But let's get into X factors. We'll start with pitchers. I can start while you guys are thinking a little bit here. I'm going to go. I picked Virginia Tech to win that series over Rutgers. I'm talking about that pitching staff. I'm going to go with not Brett Renfroe, believe it or not. I'm going to go with Griffin Stieg in his second start back from the major injury where he missed all of last season. I think he's going to have a big one on Saturday and either clinch the series for Virginia Tech or even the series for Virginia Tech. So I'm going Griffin Stieg on Saturday versus Rutgers as my pitcher X factor.
I'll go Jacob Dudon. Am I saying that right, or is it Dudan?
Duden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's unbelievable, and I'm always enamored by the taking a power reliever and making him to a starting pitcher process. So I'm pulling for him there. He actually reached out to me after I tweeted about him, so I also have a fandom for him now as well. So he seems like a great dude. So I'm wishing him nothing but the best because I know it's a challenging thing to do. I mean, Clemson had Austin Gordon a couple of years ago that they tried to make a starter, and some guys are just better as relief pitchers there. So I'm pulling for him there, and I want to see him have another exceptional start.
By the way, I believe against you guys, he closed out a game with like 15 straight sliders.
I think yes, it was game 3, and I think they were like 12 of the 15 were swing and miss or some maybe not that many, but some ridiculous amount. Yeah, he struggled with fastball command all last season. He looks like after opening weekend looked like it was good, but last year but that's crazy because at that point you guys know what's coming, and it's so good that it's one of the best sliders in the country. So love that pick from Dom there. All right, Nick, who's your pitching X factor?
I'm gonna go with Blake Morningstar to have a bounce back. If he's going to be the ace of this Wake Forest rotation and the whole pitching staff, he needs to, kind of be a little bit more consistent, kind of like what Dom said when we previewed them against Siena. If he can find that consistency, which I have seen before, I think we've all seen Morningstar be, when it's on, it's on. And that's why he's my X factor. If it's on, I think things will be good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I want to go to that Arlington, that group there. I don't know if I'm going to go with Louisville here. I'm going to go with Florida State. I think I'm going to go for my player X factor. I think I'm going to go with, do I go with the easy one with Miles Bailey or do I go with the shortstop Kyle Fisher? I'm going to go Kyle Fisher, the Wisconsin kid, Midwest guy. I'll go Kyle Fisher as my X factor for Florida State. If they're going to go 3-0, he's going to need to come in and compete and be a big factor there.
I'm going to go Rentaro Sasaki.
Oh, dang it. He got mine.
There we go. Dom tried to tell us before this he wouldn't be as good because he doesn't know as many players, but he's crushing this.
I was
Dom, you
also
crushed it.
really close to going Morningstar as well, so we were on the same page right there. But
All right.
another one of those dudes that when you get to first base, like, yes, there's a little bit of a language barrier, but you can tell how genuine of a personality he is, and he's just a super awesome guy that just bleeds baseball, man. Like, he just loves the game, and I'm enamored by individuals like that because I kind of viewed myself like that. And like, it's not easy to come in with all those eyes on you, be such a humble person, seemingly so, and then produce in the ACC. That's hard, man. So I'm pulling for him to keep slugging and get that average up, get on base. He's an OPS guy, so screw the average. But just take your walks and slug this weekend, Rentaro. Let's do it.
I would love for him to take off because, again, he sounds like such a great dude. Everyone loves him. The way he's gone about things, like he didn't bring a translator with him because he wanted his teammates to teach him English.
That's really cool.
Like, I think that's so cool. And obviously he's getting better all the time. But also going to Stanford while you're and taking classes in your second language, that's just absurd. While
Very
being a D1 baseball player, so excited for him and cool to hear that, you know, even when you've gotten on first, you can just sense the joy that he has being a baseball player, and I love that. Nick, I talked a little bit to give you some time to scramble and figure out another choice there.
Well, luckily you did not pick my number 2 guy, Monty, because my number 2 guy was actually going to be Miles Bailey. He was my backup in case one of you two did pick Rentaro. So I am going to go Miles Bailey because I do think Miles Bailey can be a dark horse ACC player of the year. I think he's that good. He had a stunning freshman year. And he played really well in that super regionals against Oregon State. Played really well in the regionals against Mississippi State. But yeah, I mean, this is like the time to prove like how good you are. These 3 games are going to be tough. I have Florida State going to Omaha. I have Miles Bailey kind of leading them to that. So he's my X factor for these 3 big games.
Love that. Shout out Miami. They did win 6-2. Derek Williams had another extra base hit. He hit a 2-run blast. The ACC Player of the Week, just having a great start to the year. Another guy with Midwest connections, former Wichita State Shocker. But that's going to do it for us. Dom, thank you so much, man. You are welcome back anytime. If you want to just replace Micah permanently, since he's a Big 12, since he's a Big 12 guy now, you know.
What's up, Benny? Thank you, man.
So I hope you had as much fun as we did. You brought some really cool, I mean, you bring in unique knowledge, especially just, you know, being in the conference last season. Absolute pleasure. And I appreciate you coming on and filling in for Micah as a co-host, not a guest, a co-host.
I had a blast, guys. Thank you. It was very fun talking ball with y'all.
Absolutely.
Course,
Nick,
man.
you got
So much fun.
you got anything you want to share with Nick before we send him off, before we close it out for the night?
Just a reminder, I will be doing stats next week. So after the weekend series, be on the lookout for that on the Just Means Less ACC page on Twitter. And yeah, that's about it.
Great name, by the way, guys. Great name, by the way. Last year when I caught wind of it all, I'm like, that's just too funny.
Absolutely. That's all Micah. You know, as much as I'd like to credit
on that.
Micah came up with it. It is fantastic. We know everyone loves it because, you know, it's not that important. You know, it's just fun. It's all good. It's just yeah, it's just fun. Yeah. So Dom, thank you again so much. We're excited to, you know, see who the next hit by pitch king is going to be now that you're out. But you know, I talked to you that watching that race towards the end of the season with Kyle Wolf, yourself, and Kane Kepley was a blast. Bradley Smart was like, Monty, what is your fixation with the hit by pitch thing? I was like, I don't know.
I'm glad you showed us love, man. That's all I need.
So I will probably be back on that train for if you're getting hit by pitches, you're just a gritty player. I don't care if you're leading in or if you're not, but so anyway, thank you so much, Dom. But we will be back next week recapping it. But until then, it just means less.